Today's guest is Julia Gao Miller. She's a Muay Thai fighter, content strategist, and business mentor. She's also got over 300,000 followers on Instagram and TikTok. She went from getting fired as a coder to building a viral brand through raw storytelling, emotional resilience, and the discipline of fighting. In this episode, she shares mindset shifts, breakdowns, and bold decisions that helped shape her journey. Trust me, this one changes everything. Julia, welcome to Mind Soak.
Thank you.
I love having people like you on the podcast because I feel like influencers per se have a bit of a stigma around them, whether it's like it's not a real job or it's not hard or it's just like free internet money and stuff like that when someone's got a lot of followers. What do you think it's much harder to be an influencer than it actually looks? Like it's not all just posting reels and making videos, like, because all that stuff takes time. Like a 15-second video might take you 3 or 4 hours to film and then all that type of stuff. So can you give me a brief outlook on what it's like and how hard you actually work as a online influencer?
I love this question.
Yeah.
Not hard at really work at all. It's because I have a team who's awesome, who I've trained up to like do all my editing and all my posting for me.
Have you always had that though?
Nope, I didn't. It's only in the past 3 years that I've had a team.
Yeah, right.
And I would say, so because I think like influencer is like a pretty broad term. And so it's like, for example, if you're like, I'm a programmer or I'm like an artist, there's a lot of different variations. And that's why it's easy to like kind of have a stereotype. And oftentimes like influencer that term has a bad rap to it because you can look at the worst influencers and kind of, put a stigma on that. And when I say worst is like maybe like what comes top of mind when you think influencer is like maybe someone who like shows their tits in their ass.
Yeah.
And then gets a bunch of like thirsty,
Yeah.
commenting and engaging. So it was interesting because I had a conversation with another person with a large following. And this individual was just like, I'm a content creator. I'm not an influencer. There's a difference. Content creator, like, I forgot how he kind of differentiated it. But it's because I think like each term has it has a stereotype and kind of an image associated, with it.
Yeah.
And for me, how I make my money consistently is not through influencing.
Yeah.
So I don't know because if I would, I guess I am partially an influencer.
Yeah.
But then again, it's like, how would you define influencers? Like someone who has influence over other people? Well, that could be anybody, actually, honestly.
Yeah,
it's
true.
like if you uphold yourself to a certain standard and other people are like positively or they can be negatively influenced by you. But yeah, for me, how I got into like content creation, creating like content on Instagram, it wasn't specifically with the end goal of being an influencer.
Yeah.
It was 10 years ago. I actually, at that time, I was in my early 20s and I was a junior software developer.
Yeah.
And so I just got fired from my job and I was kind of feeling a little bit disillusioned because I felt like I got fired out of nowhere. And like that job, the company had become a little bit like my family.
Yeah.
And it was just like, it was such a quick cut, like
the rug pull type
well, yeah,
of thing.
because you have like a little key fob that lets you come in, and it like immediately that same day they like
stops working.
Yeah, stopped. Like I couldn't get in to get my stuff. Like my laptop was stuck in the office, and it just felt so. It was like a breakup. Where and I remember being like, "Fuck this! I don't want to like join another company. That hurt really bad."
Yeah.
And so I was like, I just want to be a freelancer. Yeah. So I better like build up my brand so that I can get more software gigs as a freelancer. So
and by build your brand, do you just mean like, so you're a coder and you're just thinking like, right, I've got to do something online, or is that what you mean by build your brand? Like just do something online, show that you're a coder and put yourself out there?
Basically like just create content.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I need to build my brand on Instagram.
Yeah.
Because I was already like using it for fun, basically, but I was just like, I want to get software gigs. So I kind of, that's when I started creating content, and I was just like, oh, you know what? I have to like position myself in a way that makes me stand out. So, I'll brand myself as Fight Code Julia, because it's like I'm a coder but who also fights, and I'm a girl. I was like, that would be super memorable.
Yeah.
And it was based off of something that I read in one of like Tim Ferriss's blog posts. Do you know Tim Ferriss? Yeah. It's like all the internet entrepreneurs know the OG. But he had said something about how to become the top percent in one industry, it's very hard. Like, if you want to become the top 10% basketball player, then that's like, it's a huge competition.
Yeah.
But if you can become like the top 10% in two categories. For example, you can be a dentist / basketball player.
Yeah.
And you can like brand yourself as that. And then to become the top number one in that kind of niche is so much easier, and it's so much more memorable. So it's like having like two kind of and then he's like, anything more than that, then it kind of like becomes too like confusing.
Gotcha.
But if you just like pick two things, then it's like just so much easier to remember. So I remember like after reading that, I was just like, oh, that really stands out to me. I'm gonna be Fight Code Julia. And and then I started creating Muay Thai content, because at that time I was just getting into Muay Thai and coding content.
Yeah, that's super interesting. That's like, I think I've heard that before, but I never really, like, how you were explaining it just then, I was just like, I don't know, I just had an epiphany. I was like, that makes so much sense. Like, after this podcast, I'm going to go home and like figure out my two things, you know what I mean? Because it makes so much sense that if you can take two things that this is quite a large niche and this is quite a large niche, and it's like, it's almost polarizing to have those two things. If you can bring them together and kind of create one thing where you can do both.
Yeah, because they won't remember the name, but they're like, oh, who's that like Fight Coder girl? Like, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like the same, like off the top of your head, you're just like, oh, like, I'm a podcaster that also likes fishing, or
yeah.
Like, they're like, it's that podcasting fishing guy.
It makes it easier to be memorable and stuff like that as well, I guess. So, but yeah, from there, so you started coding, started fighting, you've just lost your job, and then like what? Because did you move to Thailand? Is that right?
That was so I think it was like within a year. I'm really bad with timelines, but I think it was like within a year or maybe 2 years of when I started creating content. Then I decided to like drop everything and then move to Thailand. Yeah,
okay. But before that, did you get many followers from what you were doing?
Yeah, I think I got up to 10K followers.
Yeah, okay.
Creating
so decent.
Coding content.
Yeah, interesting. Because it's quite your two niches, whatever people call them, they're kind of both super niche in their own right. Like, you only attract a certain crowd for one or the other.
100%.
So it's interesting. But so you did that, you got up, you're doing some stuff. Were you making any money from what you were doing?
When? In Thailand or?
Before, when you had like the 10,000 followers.
Yes, but it was through gigs. So basically, like, if I got like someone's like, oh, I want you to work for me, then I would like take on software gigs. It wasn't through influencing. Like, with the influencing stuff, right, I would get sent like free stuff. So I got like sent like this like pedal bike thing that I could work from. And just like gear. And so I was like promoting gear and stuff, but at that point I was not asking for money in exchange. Maybe I did. Maybe I started. I forget, actually. Yeah. But oftentimes when brands reach out to you, they'll try to first just send you free things. And it's your responsibility as a creator to be like, oh, thank you so much, but I only do paid collaborations.
Yeah, okay. So how long did it take for you to figure that out?
I think I just like started... One time I asked, and then they said yes, and then after that I was just like, okay, from now on I'm only doing this unless it's like a brand that I like, and I was just like, oh, I just really want to like develop a relationship with them, then like I'm happy to just get some free gear. But like for the ones that I didn't want, like I was just like, oh, this is kind of like a pain in the ass to like create content for, then like the higher the pain level of like me not wanting to create the content, the more I would charge.
That's fair. That's fair. And I assume some did pay the amount, and you probably had to make some content for shitty products that you didn't really want to do.
It was never necessarily shitty products, because I think but there were times where I have to admit I agreed, and then I received the product and I was just like, okay, I have some feedback, but I'll give it to them behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Like there's times where I got like Muay Thai shorts that I had already agreed, they had agreed to pay and I agreed to create the content. And then I like try it on and I was just like, it doesn't fit right.
Yeah.
Then I would, because I had already committed, I would go ahead and create the piece of content.
Yeah.
At that time, I just, kept my mouth shut because I was just like, this is a client. But I think now in the future, it would, if I do receive a product and I have feedback, because me personally, I would like feedback. I would ask then the business owners, like, would you like feedback on this product?
Yeah.
I'd give it.
Yeah, that's interesting, I suppose. And having, now that you've got like the certain amount of followers that you do, it's probably you're in a bit more of a position of authority to be able to be like, hey, like these Muay Thai shorts aren't right.
But you don't even need to be in a position of authority.
Yeah,
like, because like for me, like, because I think now, because I sell my own products,
yeah,
I think it's so beneficial to get feedback, because it's like the only way I can make my own products better. The best way is getting like feedback from actual consumers. So I personally, I highly value it. And I think any business owner who actually wants to create the best possible product should always, have an open ear to feedback.
Definitely. It's like the constructive criticism and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like you kind of got to let the ego down, I think, when you're entering the online space in like products or anything, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I remember when I, like my first episode or second episode of the podcast, I had a friend who used to be in photography and all that type of stuff. And he was just like, hey man, just letting you know, this pissed me off in your podcast. And I was just like, oh, okay. And then there was something else.
Was it like a photo? Like it was like
I can't remember exactly what it was, but
because if someone gets pissed off and triggered, that's not necessarily something you can control.
No, but like the feedback was actually like good feedback.
Oh,
like,
okay.
Because I think like I didn't have a introduction or something, or like a proper introduction. He was just like, I have no idea who this person is, bro. He's like, you need to introduce this person. I was like, okay, sweet, no worries. And then the next one was like, you're slightly out of frame and the camera was focusing on something behind me, so I was going blurry and something was going on in the background, and I noticed it, but I didn't realize it was because I was like off center, out of frame, and the focus was like here, and I was sitting here, so it was like every time I moved, it would get on me, and then I move again, and it'd go away, and I was just like, oh, that's why that happened. So I think feedback is one of the biggest things for anyone, and you just kind of got to let a bit of air out of the ego and just accept it and take it on, even if you don't
not
think it's
even
right.
Like not even see it as a bad thing.
Yeah.
Like I think oftentimes we have like a negative association with failure and like constructive criticism, but if you instead approach it of like, this is the way to get better, is to like listen to like this, because this is literally the path I'm looking for that. Then it's like you change your relationship to it instead of being like, and I'm actually like, I'm saying this for myself too. Like, I need to actually welcome and ask for constructive feedback. And that's actually what I've been doing a lot recently. And it's so helpful, like, because whenever you get feedback, it's like, sometimes it's so good.
And it can be from someone who has zero experience in something. They're just like, hey, I just kind of noticed this. Like, is that how it's meant to be? Or, you know, this, I didn't really like this bit, but I thought I'd let you know that I would like to see it like this. And you're just like, have these epiphanies. It's just like things that you don't even think of sometimes.
100%. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I think it's like, you should be the decision maker, and you should be like, okay, I won't like, listen to every single person who tells me, but if it like resonates and you're like, actually, that's good feedback, I think I want to incorporate that, because like my intuition says that this is the right thing to do also. It's so good. Yeah.
You've definitely got to listen to yourself as well. I think like, if you instead of taking feedback as failure, you take it as learning. Like, you swap your mindset on it, and then you can be like, okay, I learnt this. Do I like it? Yes or no? Then you can move on, like using your intuition.
Or it's like the pathway to make the best possible product.
Exactly. And you just end up with all these little avenues that you can take or look back on. So that's really, really good. But we'll go back to a little bit of your story. So after you've done all these things, you've figured out that you can make money online, and you, like we said, you ended up moving to Thailand, and then because
It wasn't necessarily like I figured out I could make money online, because I think that when I became a software developer, I was already like, I want to make money through my skills.
Yeah,
Like
okay.
high paying, high leverage skills.
Yeah.
And then it was like, okay, I want to be a freelancer and I want to get gigs, you know, through my personal brand.
Yeah.
So I think I never really, even, I think from a young age, I was just like, yeah, I'm going to make money digitally.
Yeah, like this is the path, this is the future type of thing. So because there's a reel on your Instagram that said that you gained 200k followers in 2 weeks or something like that.
Yeah.
Was that after you moved to Thailand?
Yeah.
Yeah.
was.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about that? Like did you just decide to go all in and it just kind of blew up, or consistency, or what was it?
So basically, because I've been like creating content for Instagram for years, this is like something this is what I've noticed, repeat over and over, is this is what will typically happen is if you are creating content consistently in one niche. So for me at that time, I was creating Muay Thai content.
Yeah.
So I like to set a benchmark of 2 months.
Yeah.
Nonstop, consistently every single day.
What's nonstop?
One post every single day.
One post a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eventually your content will start popping off, and one reel will go viral, and then what happens is like the algorithm picks it up, they show it to a bunch of people, and then so how the process works is people find it in their explore feed.
Yeah.
If they really like the reel, they're like, oh, this is epic. They'll click on your profile, they'll look at your profile, and if they see that you have similar content all related to the same, you know, niche, the same topic, they're gonna be like, this is freaking epic, I'm gonna follow.
Yeah.
And this is for like an audience that is interested. Like for my case, it was Muay Thai.
Yeah.
So, and this happens consistently over and over again. So right now, for example, I am not creating content. I've made a conscious decision to not create content around Muay Thai anymore, because I still love it. I'll always love martial arts, but it is not my end goal to be like a Muay Thai influence. I don't want to be a professional fighter. Like I'll always, it was always my intention to just like have it as a hobby.
Yeah.
And I love the confidence that it gives me. But right now I'm in the era where I'm interested in entrepreneurship and I want to create more content around that. I want to create content around content creation. I want to create content around storytelling.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I want to weave in martial arts here and there. But right now I'm like in a gym era phase. I'm just really enjoying going to the gym.
Yeah.
So it would almost be lying to myself to be like forcing myself to go to Muay Thai training when I'm more interested in weights training right now.
Yeah. Did you know that from the start type of thing? Like, I know you said that like you'll always love martial arts, but did you, when you were doing it, were you looking, so you're here creating Muay Thai content in Thailand, you've got someone following you around, creating all your content, posting one a day.
I was doing it, I'm not even sure I had a team at that point when I went viral. I think I was doing it all myself.
Oh, right. So
Yeah.
like, well, yeah, similar scenario, like you're creating videos, doing stuff in the Muay Thai community. Foresight, could you see that you weren't going to do this forever, or did it get to a point where you were really enjoying it, it was really, really good, and then it's got to this point now where you're like, maybe I don't love it as much as I used to anymore, I'm going to make a pivot. Like, could you see this happening, or were you just solely focused on what you were doing at the time, and then, like, you know, a few years later now you've decided to pivot because it's not what you're in love with anymore?
Well, I think at that time, even when I was creating content, I knew I never wanted to be a pro fighter, because at that time I was already like 5 years in the Muay Thai world, and I saw like hands-on, like, you know, I saw how hard pro fighters worked, and how much they dedicated themselves to fighting and how hard it was. And I saw that, and there was no like gut intuition from me. There's no little voice being like, I want to be that. And I just knew, I was like, I admire that so much. That's not the life that I want for me personally. So I think at that time I didn't have like a clear vision of what I was going to do. I just had like a kind of just like an intuition of being like, this is not what direction I want to be headed, but like, how can I, you know, leverage the audience that I have? How can I pivot? How can I use it in a way that gets me closer to the lifestyle that I want? But everything is obvious in hindsight.
Yeah, isn't it?
At that time, I remember when I got to 200K followers, because I think oftentimes people have like this kind of like rosy idea. You hear it from like entrepreneurs who make like their first million or something. They're just like, I don't feel that much different. And it was kind of like the same. I was like, I thought I was going to feel a lot better. Like for the longest time, I was just like, I want to get to 100K. I want to get to 100K followers.
Yeah.
And then like I blew up to like 300K and I was like, well, I'm still broke. So
Yeah.
What now?
Yeah. So did you think when... Like, so obviously, like anyone who's in the like influencer content creation type of thing, their goal is to gain followers to then be able to like monetize, or they think once they hit a certain number, it's probably a bit of a misconception that when you get to 100K followers or 200 or 300K followers that you're going to be making like all this money and all this type of stuff. But a lot of people don't actually monetize, like, or they don't know how to attach a business to the back end of it or have a vision, because now you see a lot of influencers or content creators, it's almost the opposite way. It's like they've got a business first and then start a personal brand to try and back that up. But I feel like kind of 10 years ago, it was more, you could do a TikTok dance and blow up and get 1 million followers type of, or maybe not 1 million followers, but you could get a lot of followers from like doing stuff like that. And the way that it's developed now is like you want to build a buyer's audience, not really just a entertainment type of thing.
It all depends. I don't think it's like now it's different than before. It's just like, for example, if someone grew up and they were as an entrepreneur, so they were like a business owner, like they know how to make profit. It all depends like on like what you gravitated for first. Like for me, I've always gravitated towards storytelling.
Yeah.
I love like just the joy of creating content, and a lot of creators are like that too. Is like whether they're on Instagram or on YouTube, is like they started it because they loved creating. They love storytelling.
Yeah, they're creative.
And so so it's like then you will get a lot of attention. Then like down the line, you know, you're putting in the reps, you're getting better at your craft.
Yeah.
And you get a lot of attention, but you don't know the skill of monetizing.
Yeah.
And so then that's like a whole nother skill of learning how to like build a business that serves. And then there's on the other end of the spectrum, there's people who are entrepreneurs and they know how to like help their ideal customer. They know how to build something that like brings value, and they know how to sell it. They know how to get testimonials. They know how to build all of that. But that's a separate skill from content creation and storytelling. It's completely separate. So then I think it's like maybe like oftentimes it's two types of people that you're seeing. You're seeing maybe like people who wanted to make an income, they wanted to make money, so they learned the skills of making money, and there's people who like just love the craft of storytelling.
Yep.
So then it's like then you kind of see like a merger of the two, where it's like, okay, now I know how to make money, I know how to sell my product very well, but I don't know how to like do marketing, I don't know how to like get the attention. So then they learn about content creation, which is like where you see like Alex Hormozy, like all those entrepreneurs who like they've already built the business, but now from a business like standpoint, they want the attention. Yeah. There's a whole vocabulary, like I need the awareness so I can get the leads and stuff. And then there's the creators who's just like, I really am good at getting attention. Yeah. I know how, but I have no idea how to actually deliver a product that is good, that like my audience, that would genuinely benefit people. Because delivering a service or a product or designing a product is a completely different skill set than storytelling. Like they can like, again, it's like when you combine the two, it's a very, very lethal and like very useful combination. Yeah.
Would you say you were a creative before you were a business mind?
100%. I'm still, even now, I think it's like my current fascination is business, because content creation and like storytelling is my comfort zone. Yeah. And even with that, there's like, I'm still enjoying so much learning. Like now I have a professional camera and I'm just enjoying so much figuring that out. I want to figure out color editing. But again, that is separate from a business. Yeah. Yeah. Those are separate skill sets.
So because you're currently like moving into the businessy coaching side of things, and is it about teaching people about content? Is that what it is?
I think one of the reasons why I'm moving more into the business is also because that is just genuinely my current fascination.
Yeah.
And so it is being true to myself that this is like what fascinates me more. And it's not something that, and so how I've built an audience in the past was I would always, what I say this over and over, I say document, don't create. So when I was creating coding content, I wasn't like, here, let me teach you. I was just like, this is what I'm learning right now. This is what I'm building. This is like the progress that I've made on this project. And so people like would follow along, and they could almost like, people who are in the industry could gauge my skill level based off of what I was working on.
Yeah, okay.
And it was 100% the same with Muay Thai as well. I was just like, this is a new technique I learned. This is something cool. And it was always like, it's stuff that I was like just currently actively learning, and that's what made it engaging for me and what made it so that I enjoyed creating content, because I was just like, even if it doesn't fucking perform well, sorry, can I swear?
Yeah. We were swearing the whole time.
Even if it doesn't perform well, this piece of content served me, because by creating it, I like saved this like Muay Thai technique.
Yeah.
And so it's in my repertoire.
Yeah.
So I was just like, even if no one wants it, I don't give a shit, because like it was useful to me.
Yeah.
But then by proxy, because it was useful to me, it's like it was useful to a lot of other people too.
Yeah.
The more I enjoyed the process of creating it, the more value I got from it.
Yeah.
The likelihood of other people getting value from it was big, like as well. And that is what kept me to continue creating content, because I just fell in love with the process.
Yeah.
Of doing it. I was just like, I can't wait to like create this new tip and stuff.
Yeah. Because it was like what you were learning at the moment. You were excited by it.
Yeah.
And in documenting instead of, what is it? Documenting instead of...
Document, don't create.
Document,
I heard
don't
that from
create.
Gary.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think I've heard it. I probably heard you say it before. That's probably where I've heard it.
I preach that like, because that's like the core of my philosophy.
Yeah.
Like one of the pillars is like, I was like, you're going to just constantly like run out of content if you're just being like, what do I create now? Like, but if you're documenting, you'll never run out of content. You just like follow your intuition. You're just like, what is fascinating me right now?
Yeah, as long as you're
like,
proactive with it, type of thing.
Yeah.
How does someone like... So for me, right, I don't really document anything apart from the podcast type of thing, and it's a podcast. It's not really documentation, I guess.
Yeah.
But like for someone like me who, I'm not really huge on social media or anything like that. I'm not very consistent with social media. I probably attach like a few social fears to it and stuff like that, like how others perceive me and all that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If you're documenting and not creating, what's the best way for someone to start documenting? Is it literally just like buy a tripod, set up what you're doing, and then just film what you're doing and then explain it with a voiceover or something like that? Or what do you think the best way for someone to start documenting is?
Is this specifically for Instagram?
I guess so. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like TikTok is more entertainment, and Instagram is kind of a bit more information based. I think. But
I think, oftentimes like Instagram and TikTok go hand in hand, but at the end of the day, it's like you want to build a community.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, where are you willing to focus your energy to build your community?
Yeah.
So what are currently is your primary focus the podcast?
Yeah. So I guess currently the primary is the podcast. Just get that. Just like I said, just be as consistent as I can with this. Comes out every second Wednesday.
Nice.
And just being true to that.
Yeah.
And that's like the sole basis of it. Like, I'm not going to do any more or any less. I'm just going to be 100% consistent in doing that, so that I know like that's the cycle, and then everyone else knows that.
Perfect.
Every second one. So.
And so this is also because all the individuals that you're interviewing, they're local to Bali.
Yeah,
so
everyone's local to Bali.
Okay,
so.
Perfect. And then you're generally like focusing on, is it like a specific like entrepreneurs or?
Yeah, it's basically just how it's kind of gone at the moment is entrepreneurial journeys, like how people got from A to B, where they started, where they are now, and then like the epiphany in between, to show that, someone at home listening to this that doesn't know what to do, or stuck in a 9-to-5, or, wakes up every day going, I have to go to work, like that type of feeling. I want them to be able to watch this, listen to it, and go like, all right, these people have done it. eventually there'll be a podcast out that really resonates with them. Like, you know, if someone's like you just lost their, not you right now, but if someone back in the day has lost their job, they don't know what to do, instead of being sad about it and stuff like that, seeing it as an opportunity and being like, okay, I've got a little bit of money saved up. I can go live in Bali, or I could go to Thailand, or I could go overseas or something.
Yeah.
And I can just 100% commit to documenting this. Like,
I love it.
and yeah, I just want people
So-
to be able to know that, like, instill inspiration, motivation, hope.
Because you just literally talked about your ideal, like, listener.
Yeah.
So it's like, so this is how I see it when it comes to like the document, don't create, is also being very, very clear on who you're talking to.
Yeah.
Oftentimes it's helpful to have like, almost like, so, you know, in business speak, we call it the target avatar.
Yeah.
But it's better to just have like one person. Basically, you can either imagine a real person that you can think of specifically, or you can create an avatar, and you're like, this is a person who's like working their 9 to 5, they're not happy, and they are going to be inspired from, you know, one of the people that I interview by their kind of like the pivoting point. Yeah. So then when it comes to like creating content and then also like documenting, it's like you always have in mind who you're talking to.
Yeah.
And how I approach content creation is you don't, and this is something that I think is like I've kind of gradually start to develop over time, is it's not about you, it's about the person. So it's like these days it's like whenever I post a story, for example, like I've been to the gym, I'm feeling good in my body or something like that. Like I'm saying that because like I just posted like a video of me dancing in front of the mirror, but I was just like, I'm feeling good in my body right now. Like, you know, I've been consistent at the gym. Yeah. And then what I do is I'll put a poll that where I say, hey, are you a gym girl also? Or a guy who goes to the gym? Or option 3, I forgot what. But basically it's always like reverting the focus on the viewer. Yeah. To be like, it's just like the same when you're a conversationalist. If someone is just like, oh, let me talk about myself and this me. From a conversationalist standpoint, you're like, this person freaking sucks. Like they don't know how to have a conversation. A conversation is about an exchange. It's about you sharing something and then, you know, asking the individual, like, what do you think about this? Yeah. You know, finding ways to relate. Yeah. So that's 100% like social media as well. You can either be a bad conversationalist and be just like, look at me, I did this, I did that. Which when you're having a conversation, it's good to share about yourself, but then then turn the spotlight back on the person you're, you know, talking to and be like, what about you? Yeah, that's actually a huge, like that. I just had a wild like epiphany just then, like just a sudden realization of the truth. I was just like, holy shit, like I'd never had thought like that before. Like it's almost like you're having a conversation with the other person, and that's how you get them to be engaged or feel a part of your community type of thing. Yeah, and like you're already naturally very good at conversation, so it's like almost leaning into that you have an affinity for that, and trying to like project that into the online world too, because I think right now I hear you have this inner narrative where you're like, I'm bad at social media, but then that labeling becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, because red light talk type of stuff. If you say that, then you will act in a way that, you know, it makes you adhere to that self-concept. So it's almost, but then like being like, no, I'm good at social media, I'm good at, like, that's, you know, you have to kind of like slowly pivot and be like, hey, I'm a good conversationalist. Yeah, that you can stand behind, because it doesn't take you much convincing to believe that. And you're like, okay, I'm a good conversationalist. Instagram is conversation. I think I can be good at Instagram. And then you start to engage in the behaviors that will then make you adopt that new identity. So, okay, so in practical standpoints, it doesn't have to be like voiceover, all of that. Like that's more for like, you know, reels, but for like, for example, for stories where you want to develop the relationship with the viewer, it's like you can share, like when you're editing the podcast clip, it's like, oh, I'm editing this podcast clip, this is awesome. And then think about some kind of like question that would engage like your ideal customer, that you're like, hey, the person who's like at their 9 to 5 in like Sydney, be like, you can say like, oh, this person is very fast. I can't think off the top of my mind, but it's just something that would engage them, or it's like, or be like, hey, do you like editing also? It doesn't even have to be like, something
too in
very
depth or anything.
Yeah,
it's just a simple question of just like, because I think I've done something like that before where I was just like, editing sucks. Like, or editing's really hard. Like, I've never done it before. And like, props to the people who actually do it type of thing.
Yeah.
Because like my old housemate used to be locked in his room for like 6 hours editing a 45-minute YouTube video, or like 2 days. And I'm like, bro, what are you doing? Why is it taking you so long? And like, I just never understood. And like, I use AI and stuff to help me edit and all that type of stuff. And it doesn't take me that long, but it also still takes a long time. You know what I mean? So I've got a bit of an appreciation for it now. That was a huge unlock though. Like, hearing about the conversation, like having a conversation with the avatar and stuff like that. I really, really like that. What about when so I feel like a lot of people are probably in a similar situation to me, even before I started like doing the podcast and stuff like that. Even if I wanted to grow, my audience is literally like mum, dad, family and friends who are like my actual family and friends. Like, I didn't start a new Facebook page or Instagram page or anything like that. What do you think being like, so we've obviously spoken about being consistent with it and, doing one a day or one every couple of days or whatever it is. Do you think that making reels or stories for growing your Instagram or TikTok, because I know TikTok is basically just reels, but do stories help you grow as well as, like, I'm not sure of the Instagram thing, but if I'm just putting stories out and not putting any reels out, do you think there's a similar growth pattern there? Or
no, not at all, because stories is just for your current followers.
Yeah,
so
okay.
how I like to differentiate posts and stories is basically like posts, how I see the feed is like, that is you giving to your audience. It's you giving value.
Yeah.
You're like, here, let me give you this gift. Let me give you. So it's generally, it's something that has value. So for example, when I was in the Muay Thai niche, it was like Muay Thai tutorials and like gym tours and stuff. And then now it's like, oh, like here are these like content hacks. Like, I just published this reel that was like, hey, I analyzed 6 viral reels. I analyzed the scripts, used AI to break it down. And then, we found these 4 things they all had in common. And here, comment 11, you can get like my prompt that I used to like analyze all my scripts.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's delivering value. And then Instagram, and that's with the goal of hopefully one reel goes viral and then it will get shown to a large audience. But then you never have that expectation. You just like, you commit yourself to being consistent in one single niche. I have to repeat that, is when you publish about a lot of different things, if you're like, hashtag surfing, hashtag podcast, hashtag went to Kuala Lumpur. It's, which I'm like guilty of doing. That's when you're kind of lessening your likelihood of like going viral, because the algorithm likes it when you're consistent with one thing. And then that's when it picks it up and you're just like, this person does fishing, a lot of fishing content. Okay, they've been doing fishing content for 2 months specifically. We're going to show them to people who have shown an interest in fishing. And so then it's like, that's when it starts like going into that. It's almost like, it's like hard work. Oh, the algorithm knows what you're about now. Because that was the thing. It was like, I was creating so much content around Muay Thai that eventually anyone who was interested in Muay Thai within a couple of weeks, they would see my content. Because I was just such a consistent content creator around that. And so like, every time I traveled, whenever I went to a Muay Thai gym, it was like, people were like, oh, I know you. So it's just like, I've done it before and I know the process now, and it's about, but that's the thing, is like, you want to, like, it's almost like something that I say is like, if you have like a keyboard shortcut for which hashtags you would use.
I was literally just about to ask you about this.
It's so for before it was like Muay Thai girl, Muay Thai training, Muay Thai Thailand. And I was so consistent with it that we just literally had a keyboard shortcut and we just post that.
And you just use the same ones every single time?
It would have to be
roughly
relevant to the post, because it was just like, oh, if I did something that was like Muay Thai girl and there's no girl in the video, then it's like, it's not an accurate hashtag. So it's like, we'd always modify it slightly to make sure that it's accurate and relevant. but we would have a basic template. And I literally just had like my VA. We just came up with like a new batch for specifically for like, you know, online entrepreneurship, like content creation, IG growth and stuff like that. And we're going to start just like using that consistently over and over and using it as a template.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. When did you get a VA to start helping you?
I had a suggestion from a friend who was an entrepreneur. He was half Filipino, and he's like, "Oh, you should hire people from the Philippines." And he's like, she was like, "You go to onlinejobs.ph and you put in the job posting, and you know you can start off." He's like, "Oh, you can start off as like, you know, a couple dollars an hour, but it's like unskilled labor, but it's for just stuff that you want to offload."
Yeah, right.
So yeah, from his suggestion, I was just like, "Okay, I'll do it." And the first hire, I was like, it didn't go very well, but that was because I never like hired someone before, and I didn't know how to like oversee somebody.
Yeah.
So it ended up being just like so painful for both of us, me and that person.
Yeah.
And then the second time when I tried to hire, I hired 2 people and part-time, and then I was like, okay, this way, like I was like, they'll be able to keep each other in check, because like I don't know how long it will take, but you know, I'll give like tasks to both of them, and they'll be able to be like, oh, know that this one is slacking.
Yeah.
So yeah, what ended up happening is that I had one of the VAs way outperform the other one. Like the other one was making a lot of mistakes, and then I had one who was like finishing double the work with no mistakes.
Yeah.
And so eventually, I think within a couple months, because she made a mistake that cost me a client.
Yeah.
So then I was just like, I'm letting this one go, and I'm giving that salary to the other VA who is Lance, and you know, hiring him full time. And I've had him for 3 years.
Yeah. Wow. That's cool.
Yeah.
And then you've expanded your team now. What do you think, like, when do you think someone should get a VA, and how much? I suppose actually one of the other things I want to know as well is how much access do you give them, and like what do they do for you? I guess, because like I don't really know. Like I would just assume that it's a video editor or something like that. Like what's some of the things that these VAs can do for you, and like do you know them personally, or did you ever meet them? I've just asked like 5 questions. I'm sorry. But yeah. When do you think is a good time to get a VA, and what do they actually do for you? And yeah, we'll start with that.
Okay. So when I think is a good time to get a VA is like, if you're, for example, you're a freelancer, you're making an income, and you're like, okay, this gig gets me, for example, like $1,000 a month or something.
Yeah.
If there's parts of it where you're just like, this is such grunt work, it's like kind of like, oh, I have to just do the same thing over and over. So for me, I run a social media marketing agency. So I would go to like businesses, I would film for them, then I would edit it.
Yeah.
And at first I enjoyed it, but then I was just like, oh my God, kill me. I hate this editing. Because there was one point I was just like, yeah, it's so nice. I can like work from my phone anywhere. Like I don't even need a laptop. And then yeah, very quickly became tedious. Yeah. I was just like, I want to outsource the editing.
Yeah.
So, so that's when, for me, hiring a VA was very game changing. Was when I've done a job enough times where I'm just like, I can create a process for this. I can create an SOP, and I can hand it off because we've built up the system. We know like how it wants to look. For example, like for a client.
Yeah.
And now we've created the document of like, or just like even like film a Loom video if these are like, you know, like tasks that you do on your laptop or on your phone.
Yeah. Okay.
And then that's when I would hand it off, is once I've set up the process already and I have a budget that I can invest. So one person, I read this book that called like 10 Pillars of Wealth like 10 years ago, and they were saying like you always want to invest 30% of your earnings into your team. So for example, it's like, hey, you just got this new client, they're paying you like $1,000. Well, what you want to do now is like invest 30% of that into like having someone else do it for you, but you've set up the guidelines, you set up the system.
Yeah.
So then it's like you're not doing the work anymore. That person's handling it, but they're following the guidelines that you've set up. Yeah. And now you have $700 profit, and your time is freed up again so that you can take on other clients.
I love that. That makes so much sense. And I suppose my very broad question of what do they do for you depends on what you need.
Oh my God. So it actually was amusing for Tom because I actually have him like do almost like everything for me. And what I mean by that is like, oh, I have a eyelash appointment. My VA books it. Oh, I need to do some research because Tom's parents are coming over like, in a couple of months and
Yeah.
we need to plan the itinerary. I need to pay like this bill for this. Oh, VA, can you do that? But like for me, it's like I've worked, for example, with my main guy is Nate Lance for over 3 years, and he has been there for me like when I was going through a really tough time, and he didn't have to.
Yeah.
And so that showed me like I'm like his character.
Yeah.
And I think it's like the relationships you build it over time. It's the same with like with people in person that in person. Some people that you've known for a long time and you're just like, okay, this person can't be trusted to like, if I leave money on the table, I don't know if I trust this person.
Yeah, gotcha.
But there's other people that they have such integrity, their character, and you're just like, oh, I can trust this person like in my house. I know they're clean. I know they're not going to mess anything up.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think it's about how much you trust a person based off of how well you know them. And for me, it's like, for example, Lance like really showed me his character because there was a time where I was having a really hard time, and and he was there. So
yeah, that's really nice. So like then I'll go into like how much access that you give them. Like you just said that you're like, oh, pay my bills, or like do this, do that. I suppose then that goes back to the trust thing, I guess, about how much you can trust them, because like integrity is what you do while no one's watching, type of thing.
Yeah.
So it's like, has this person got integrity? Can you trust them? La la la. That's when you start to, like, I don't even know how it works. Do you give them like access to your bank account or something, or like, is there a way that you can set stuff up so that they can pay things or whatever? Like, I don't even know how it works, to be fair.
Yeah, well, everyone's different, and it all depends on like the level of trust. So sometimes it's like it depends on like what kind of business you have. Like a company credit card, you're like, hey, it's the same with a brick and mortar business.
Yeah,
you're like,
okay.
which one of my employees do I trust? Do I know they're not going to do something bad?
Yeah.
And then you also have checks though. You're like, hey, the company credit card, if more than $500 gets spent, it will send a notification. I have to approve it.
Yeah.
And so there's all kinds of checks that you can set in place.
Yeah, okay.
It doesn't have to be that risky. So
yeah, nice. So you've got VAs, you've sorted all that out, and then
yeah, a lot of the principles when it comes to building like a brick and mortar business is the same as like an online business. Yeah.
Yeah, you're just not
like,
selling to foot traffic, you're selling to scrolling traffic type of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
That makes sense. I suppose you can like, because everything that you've said has been like fairly relatable to like this and that. It's like, yeah, this is the same as that, like having a conversation, having your ideal avatar. It's the same as just talking to the camera. Just pretend that it's that person. Yeah, the brick and mortar business. Nah, I like it.
Yeah, and oftentimes it's I really like looking at like ground principles and like going down to basic principles, because that principles will never change. Like the tactics and the strategy, the social media platform will change.
Yeah.
But yeah, the inherent principles won't change.
I like it. It's given me heaps of like this has actually been really, this has almost been a coaching session for me, just about. So so it's really good. No, I love
Sweet.
it. It's yeah, super insightful. Like I said, I've had heaps of epiphanies just like talking about all this little stuff. But you mentioned before about that, like you were going through a dark time and your VA was there. Can you explain a little bit about that? Because I know people don't actually see the dark side of that type of thing, like being an influencer or being a content creator or even starting your own business and stuff like that. And especially having VAs where you're not actually in touch with people, like you're not sitting face to face with someone or in the office next to someone. You kind of, sometimes you lose yourself a little bit. Like I know sometimes when I'm sitting at home editing or something like that, I'm like, or like trying to plan for a podcast or figure out what I want to do next, sometimes that intrusive voice comes in your mind. You're like, this fucking sucks. Like, or I don't want to do this anymore, or whatever it is. What was your, if you don't mind explaining a little bit, Lord, going through why were you feeling the way that you were feeling in that dark moment? Like what led you to that?
Yeah. Well, I think, so basically, actually, it was exactly a year ago. I had a massive mental breakdown.
Yeah, right. So fairly recent.
Yeah. And it it was so bad that, yeah, well, I'll say it, I like try to commit suicide basically. Like I was in a really, so since since I was 17, like, so I started having kind of like emotional issues when my parents split up.
Yeah.
And I didn't handle it very well, and I developed massive social anxiety, because at that time when my parents divorced, we also like moved to a new place. We moved to like an island in the middle of nowhere, like in north of Washington State in the States.
Yeah.
I lost my whole friend group. I lost my father. We temporarily like kind of like lost our home. We ended up like moving into the school dormitories, and my mother became like the dorm parent. And so I felt a lot of shame and had a lot of like anger towards myself and at the world, at my father, and I hated myself. And so I started developing like these bad habits for coping. So I started like overeating. I developed massive social anxiety. When you're young, you kind of like self-diagnose, and I was just like, I'll think I'll have like, and then in the States, it's like, an issue is like, if you are depressed, their immediate like recourse is like, yeah, you have a mental illness, you should go take this pill because you're like mentally sick, and talk to a psychiatrist so they can prescribe you more pills. And so I like just developed this like inner narrative and self-label of like, I am broken.
Yeah.
There's something wrong with me. And that became like a self-fulfilling prophecy. So, and then it also kind of, at that point, it engraved this belief in me, like the subconscious belief, where I was just like, I'm not good enough. Like, and again, it's like when you say it out loud, it sounds so, like, it sounds kind of stupid. You're like, well, why do you believe that? But I was just like, if I was good enough, like, my father wouldn't have left. So at that point, I also got rejected from like 3 boarding schools like that we had to apply to.
Yeah.
And so that was like my first time that I had a rejection. Up until then, I was like a good student.
Yeah.
And I just remember being like, oh, no. And so like that like followed me like my whole life. I was just like, not good enough, not good enough. Got fired from my job. I was like, not good enough, not good enough. Went to Thailand, started learning Muay Thai, but at the back of my voice, there's always like this, back of my head, there's always this inner criticism, like, I'm not fucking good enough. It's not good enough. Like, I made my first like 10K, like selling my program, and then I was still like, oh, not good enough. I have to make another 10K. I like, nah, I have to like, so that, like in hindsight, what I believe happened is like this internal dialogue and the inner critic that was constantly like being like, you're not good enough. What you're doing is not good enough. It eventually just took over. It completely took over. Yeah. And to be transparent, I like, because of that inner narrative, I also attracted people in my circle that did not treat me well. And who, because I had a negative self-regard, I accepted, disrespectful treatment.
Yeah.
From,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
So then I think that the environment that I was in just kind of reinforced this kind of like self-hatred that I had always had.
Yeah.
And that eventually led to me trying to destroy myself because I hated myself. Yeah. Basically.
Yeah.
And a huge insight from that is just like, because I was like nonverbal for like months. I couldn't even like speak.
Wow.
And I was forced to go to a therapist, and then the therapist slowly, like, actually within a week, he got me back to speaking again, because what I was doing was I was trying to numb myself. And like, thank God I didn't get into hard drugs or like alcohol. I was numbing myself with food and social media. Yeah. Because I was just avoiding the self-hate. I had so much like massive, like pent up, like I couldn't like sit with my thoughts. Yeah. And so he like got me to like stop engaging in those behaviors. Yeah. And then like when I started to be able to talk again, then he kind of quickly identified how hard I was on myself and like how self-critical I was. And he's just like, and then that became like a whole process of not basing my worth and value based off of like my achievements. Yeah. So that has been like a massive pivot point, because also I think it's like you're the subject of your environment. And I grew up 100%. In an environment, where like my mother and my father were kind of like overachievers. Yeah. Like they were like and in a way they also had an inherent sense of like not being good enough and always trying to prove that they were.
Yeah.
And so like just growing up in that environment, you kind of like, it's like a fish in water. You don't know that there's any other way of living.
Yeah, exactly. And it's you're not taught how to deal with like the emotions and stuff like that. What you were feeling, like we don't get taught how to deal with it, or that, you know, that feeling of not being good enough, or like, because I kind of grew up with that a little bit as well, where my sister is very academically smart, like super smart, all this type of stuff. Went to university, got good grades, like all this type of stuff, and I was not. I was really bad at school, found it really hard to learn, like all this type of stuff. So that I was always comparing myself to her, but we're two completely different people. And it's like, no one told you or told me that, like, hey, you're two completely different people. People have different ways of learning. People are smart in their own way, or like whatever it is, like that's just my scenario. But yeah, people don't get taught how to deal with that stuff, and it sucks when you get to a stage where you just can't do things. Because I was in a similar situation to you when I left the Navy. I just sat at home on my computer playing computer games, numbing myself just from everything, because I didn't know what to do, and it was during COVID as well. I remember like my palms sweating when because I'd put on weight, and I hadn't seen anyone in a couple of months, and if I had to go to the supermarket, my hands would be like sweating to put my socks and shoes on. Hadn't even got to the car yet, or in the car or anything. And yeah, like it'd take me 30 minutes to even move off the bed to get there. And like, that's just crazy anxiety type of thing happening. But like, you don't get taught how to deal with that, or like things like that can happen to you if you think in these like bad ways. And what you were saying about like you're the product of the environment, and like what you put out is what you attract as well. So if you're this person that's super, super negative and hates your life and like all this type of stuff, the people that you're going to attract are the people that you resonate with. So if you're feeling all these horrible bad things and you're putting that out into the world, you magnetize that. And then it's crazy, because as soon as you flip that mindset and go like, I'm going to start going to the gym, I'm going to start going to the sauna, I'm going to start feeling good about myself, I'm going to start doing all this type of stuff. And that's one thing I actually realized when I moved to Bali and stuff, that like I just started talking to people just like randomly in the sauna. That's literally where I made all of my friends, is in the sauna at one of the gyms here. Like, and yeah, just talking to people, being positive, talking about what I'm going to do, being ambitious, like all this type of stuff. And I've just attracted like all these beautiful people that are just like good for the soul type of thing. And I also feel like that I'm at the bottom of the barrel, like not IQ wise, that's completely wrong, but like where I hear like all these people are, I feel like they're all above me. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that I think I'm in a really, really good position, because I'd rather be the dumbest person in the room than be the smartest, because if you're the smartest
100%.
person in the room, you're technically the dumbest, like, because you're not going to grow anymore. So
yeah, it's like crazy. When you say that, you're like, yes, I'm in the perfect spot.
Yeah, like as I was saying, I was realizing, I was just like, yeah, sauna's where to go if you want to if you want to make good conversations in Bali. But yeah, how did you pull yourself out of that? And was that what you were saying? Was that all a year ago, or was that kind of like a bit of the story that was happening?
Yeah, wait. Again, I'm really bad at timelines. Now it's been a year and a half, because that was not it was like 2024 going on to 2025.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So, and then when did you come to Bali?
It was more than 6 months ago. It was last November.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sweet. So where were you when this was happening?
I was in Thailand.
Yeah.
And then I flew back home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And home is?
In the States.
In the States, yeah.
I went to stay with my mother for 6 months.
Yeah. I had a conversation with someone about this, just as you said, I went back home to the States to see my mother. Do you find that when you go home to the States to see your mum, that all of those things come flooding back?
So for me, I see where you're getting at.
Yeah.
But for me, going home was actually the most beautiful thing, but this is like why, was because like I when I went to Thailand, it was partially because I was chasing like the dream of being a digital nomad and, building a different alternative lifestyle than what was being presented through the 9 to 5 kind of, lifestyle.
Yeah.
But it was also, I was like running away and needing and chasing a desire to want to prove myself to my parents, specifically to my mother, because I admired and respected my mother a lot. But because once I started pursuing an alternative lifestyle, like digital nomad, like that she no longer understands what I do.
Yeah.
And a part of me was just like, I need to prove that the decision that I made was, made sense. And so I was putting all this pressure on myself. And in a way, I isolated myself from my family because I thought that, again, it came from that inner narrative of like, you're not good enough. You can't show your face to them until you're good enough. Because my mother had like a similar narrative where when she was 30, she came to the States by herself.
Yeah.
She is originally from China. And it was really, really hard for her. But then she like built a life for herself.
Yeah.
And, like bought a home. Now she's like a multimillionaire. Like, but it's like she started like, from like $2 an hour, basically, like working under the table. And so like, I think in like my head, I was just like, fuck, I have to like prove myself. I can't go back until
I've done this.
I've done it. And in a way I had so much internal pressure and I almost like, and I think there's like a lot of pain related to the divorce and stuff, like feeling like I lost my family.
Yeah.
And so going back was for me personally, was part of my healing process because it showed that like my mother loved me no matter what, because I was at my lowest of the low. Like at that point, like I was in terrible shape mentally.
Yeah.
And
she still loved you for who you were. And
she was there. Yeah. And
that's what mothers do, isn't it? So, and fathers as well. But
hopefully.
Yeah. As soon as I said that, I was like, maybe.
Good fathers.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that's wild. So you were going through all of that while building your personal brand.
Well, no, I closed my Instagram for like that 6 months. I would literally like removed it.
Right.
There's a way that you it's not delete it, but you can take it off the internet.
Oh, just like suspend it or whatever.
Yeah,
it's
something
called.
like that. Yeah, and yeah, I did because I just like I lost myself. I didn't know who I was anymore. I got so deep in the depression. That I was just lost.
No, that's it's super shit that can happen to people. I think
it's good though. Like for me, like I don't recommend mental breakdowns for anyone. I think it's like I didn't even know the concept of any inner work. I didn't know any of that inner world stuff. But like if I didn't have that mental breakdown, I wouldn't be the person that I am today. I wouldn't have like the insights that I have today. I wouldn't have like the positive self-talk that I have today if I hadn't hit rock bottom in a way. And then from that realized, inner work is kind of important. Maybe like, analyzing why you do what you do, why you self-sabotage is actually like, worthwhile to figure that out.
Yeah, no, definitely. I definitely recommend, I actually think everyone should have a psychologist and like speak to psychologists.
But that's the thing is like I think it's the same with like a personal trainer. Like you can get like a bad personal trainer that like actually like makes you be like, oh, why would I even do this? It sucks. So it's like also finding someone who's like good at what they do is also
you gotta go through. I think I had like 3 or 4 before I found someone who I like really vibed with. And it ended up just feeling like a general conversation type of thing, and she would tell me about what's happening in her life and stuff like that, like not necessarily like friends and family and all that type of stuff, but there'd be like situations that she would be able to relate, and I knew what she was doing in her life and stuff like that, and we kind of became friends. And then it was super powerful because for me, she didn't know anyone in my life. She only knew me and my perspective on things, and she helped me with those. And that was super liberating because I feel like sometimes if, when you're like talking to a friend or something about something, they've got a perspective from someone else or from a different angle. Yeah. And it's like, it can be skewed in that way.
Yeah.
So I think someone who only knows you and your story and your background can help you from your perspective.
Yeah. And also I think someone who doesn't have any like tie to your life in a way, like where it's like, they're like, because sometimes with friends, even if they're trying to be impartial. They're not. You can't be impartial.
Yeah.
And you might want to preserve harmony, like,
So that
worries,
hold back a little
like,
bit.
at least with a therapist, it's just like, it doesn't matter what you do, what decision you make. They're being paid to like help you out.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
but it's like whatever decision you make, that has zero influence on them.
Yeah.
And then just being able to have like an unbiased person who like this is what they do for their work is like helping people and like with their psychology.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. No, it's good. Thank you for sharing that. That's like, I know it's super difficult to talk about, especially
No,
when
I like talking about it,
yeah,
actually.
No, that's
but
good.
sometimes it's just like, we're going deep and we're like, should I say it? Should I say it? Oh, I'm gonna just say it.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I've been there myself as well. So it's nice to communicate that and let people hear. I think that it's also a part of the healing process, I think, as well.
Oh, yeah,
like
100%.
To be able to say it out loud is like, it's like this feeling of acceptance and knowing that you've kind of like moved on from it, because a lot of people just bottle it all up and like, no, I'm fine, hide behind the smile type of scenarios. So I think once you actually, I think the biggest thing is voicing it. Like, or having recognition for it and being like, it's okay to feel this way, or recognize or go and talk to someone or whatever. So I'm super glad that you're okay now and you're here. But what made you turn your Instagram back on? When was the point? When did you start feeling better to be able to do that?
It was 6 months later. I had been going to the therapist probably at least maybe, again, I'm bad with time, maybe like 8 times at that point. Yeah. And I was feeling like I was getting out of the rut. I was just like, oh, I know who I am again. I feel happiness again. I feel excitement, because I think that was like, for me, it's always, that's the kind of like the warning sign of depression, is all of a sudden you wake up and you're just like, I'm not excited for anything.
Yeah, when the bad days start to outweigh the good.
Not even is it. Now I have theories, because every time I go through a depressive episode, I have like more theories, and I think it's more about like, it's when your intuition is trying to tell you you're not on the right path. That's my thing, because when I look back in hindsight, before I had the mental breakdown, I was just like, I was in a really like unhealthy like situationship, like relation. I don't think I should even call it a relationship, but it was psychologically very harmful for me, like being there. So it was almost, but I was 100% not aware of it. Yeah. And so, but I think it was like my body being like, you need to get out. This is the wrong place. This is not right. So I forgot what we were talking about.
Yeah, sorry. I was kind of like in depth listening to that situation.
Wait. No, so it was like, when did I turn my Instagram back on? Was when it was when I started feeling fucking excited about life again. Yeah. I was like, oh, I have something to actually look forward to.
Yeah, nice. And then you were just like, right, I'm good to go again. And
yeah, because Instagram for me is basically like storytelling, and that's how I always love it. Is I'm just like, it is a way of storytelling. Yeah. And that's, I have a positive association with it, with storytelling.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And that's why you document and don't create.
Yeah. And it's just like, again, I think it's like with anything, if you want to be successful in something, you have to develop a positive relationship with it. For sure. So like, for example, if you're just like, oh, I hate social media, I hate to do that. If you continue that narrative, then you will always be like fighting yourself as you're trying to do that. Whereas if you're just like, instead of being like, oh, I love social media, you can pivot to, what can I enjoy about this process? What can I learn to enjoy? And slowly you build on that. You build that positive relationship.
Yeah, like as it gets easier to do, as you start to, you'll end up finding enjoyment in it if you start to doing what you like. It's kind of like what you were saying about your intuition and stuff like that. Like if that is what is your inner monologue is saying to you, like you're obviously not on the right path. So like if you're waking up and going like, I'm a social media creator or whatever, and you're like, but I'm not loving it, I'm just doing it. It's like, well, you're not on the right path. And it's like, you might just be telling the wrong story or something, like to get you excited or whatever it may be.
Well, okay. I think there's a difference between intuition of being like, I don't want to do this, and intuition being like, hey, I think this thing will be good for me. I just need to develop a positive relationship to it.
Okay.
But if something like doesn't align with your values, and you're just like, this doesn't light me up at all, it doesn't align with my values and who I want to become. Yeah. then that's when you're like, okay, maybe I should move in a different direction. Like, for
Yeah.
example, it's like, okay, my vision, I want to be good at sales. I want to, be like, have a lot of muscles.
Yeah.
Well, then in order to like have those skill sets, there are certain things that I need to engage in that maybe I don't like doing, like, don't like hopping on sales calls.
Yeah.
But in order to like meet that vision of who I want to become, I need to develop a positive relationship with it. I need to show up even though it's uncomfortable. But if like I don't know, like if you're like working in corporate, working at a job that is like, you're just like, oh, maybe it's like selling pharmaceuticals and you don't believe in like you don't believe in big pharma or like what your company is doing.
Yeah.
Then like continuing to force yourself to do that when is like the vision of yourself and who you want to be ultimately does not match. That's when you want to make a pivot.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I think a lot of that'll be valuable for a lot of people just to understand that.
How to differentiate.
Yeah,
how what kind of like hard.
Yeah, what's hard and what you don't want to do and things that you have to do.
Yeah, but it's not even half. It's just like, what is my big vision?
Alignment then, I think.
Yeah, what is my big vision?
Yeah.
Does this hard thing align with my big vision? Let's keep trying to show up for that. Do I not ultimately want to be this person? Then let's stop engaging in behaviors. And that's taking me down this other path.
Do you have any like quotes or things that you live by, or like a little mantra in your own mind that you're just like...
Well, right now it's like, be your own best cheerleader. That was the biggest insight from my mental breakdown, because I was always like so hard on myself. And then after almost like trying to like kill myself, like end myself, I was just like, fuck that. I am never going to hate on myself to that level. I will always be my best cheerleader and be cheering myself on, because it was actually the therapist introduced me to the concept of inner child work, which some people are very familiar with. It was novel to me like up until a year ago. And then that is like, imagine like the 7-year-old version of yourself.
Yeah.
And you're like, what you're doing right now, like whether like, for example, like if you're in an abusive relationship and there's like a guy that's like yelling obscenities at you, if there's a 7-year-old sitting here, what would you do? Would you allow her to sit there and just listen as they're hurling abuse at you? Like, or you'd be just like, yeah, sit, listen. Yeah, you fucking suck.
Yeah.
Or would you like take that little girl away and be like, oh my God, let's take this guy is like, has some issues.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I'll never let you like sit through something like that again. Like,
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, so...
Gave me goosebumps.
Yeah, so, the concept of, like, inner child work, or just, like, for example, if you're, like, a workaholic and you're, like, working until midnight and you're just like, oh, let me chug another coffee so I can get this thing done. Like, imagine, like, forcing coffee down a 7-year-old's throat and being like, you can't fucking sleep, you fucking retard. Like, like, the things that you would force yourself to do.
Yeah.
You'd be like, oh, my God, it's abuse.
Yeah.
So...
And most people are doing it to themselves type of thing. So taking that inner child work. Yeah, that's interesting. I like that concept.
Yeah. And then also being like, yeah, would you be so hard on that little girl if she like messed up, or little boy? And if he like, messed something up, you'd be like, you suck. You will never succeed, which is oftentimes the internal dialogue that we have.
Yeah.
Or you'd be like, it's okay. You can get back up. Like, you're doing so great.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's been massively pivotal for me.
Yeah. I love that. I'm probably going to start doing that myself, because I have the issues with self-doubt and self-worth and all that type of stuff as well. And I think that might be why I'm telling myself that I'm not good at social media and stuff like that, because I feel like I don't have anything to give when I probably have got a lot to give. But I just don't allow myself to, because the red light talk that's happening in my head type of thing. So that's a cool insight for me as well. But yeah, I think we might just wrap it up there, because we've touched on so many topics.
How long have we been talking for?
I think like an hour or something.
Yeah.
Maybe. So, but no, thank
it flowed.
Yeah, it did. It was good.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You are a good conversationalist.
Yeah.